who go through only recording, they will face problem. Just let me explain this particular thing for them. We can write here, v here, then test anywhere diagonally. We can write p and v, yes, diagonally we should write. Okay, in any order, it doesn't matter. Only thing is that p v should be written in diagonally, and ps should be written diagonally. And wherever ps is there, we should write a negative sign. Okay, and then start writing our Maxwell's equation wherever you can start. Okay, like we can start here. Let's say we have dou t by dou v. Okay, dou t by dou v. Now we are going in this direction. So dou t by dou v at constant entropy, at constant entropy. Okay, so dou t by dou v at constant entropy is equal. Now one ahead. So p by dou s. Okay, dou p by dou s at constant volume. Now only thing is that we have crossed this ps, so we should put a negative sign here. Okay, so we got one equation like this. Can start from any state point and you go in any order, clockwise, anti-clockwise. You only have to do is start from any point, like dou p by dou t, dou p by dou t at constant volume is equals to jump one step ahead. Okay, and then dou s by dou v, go anti-clockwise, dou s by dou v at constant temperature. So like this you can write all Maxwell equation. Okay, now the next is equation. So to derive this particular equation, what we can do is let's consider that this entropy is a function of temperature and volume. Okay, some relation in which entropy is a function of temperature and volume only. Let's assume this one. We can assume other this thing also, other properties also. Entropy is the function of other property also, and then we can derive other TDS equation. See, basically we have one is entropy, then we have pressure, temperature and volume. We have like this. Okay, so what we can do is, first let's consider volume and temperature and volume. So with this we'll get S is a function of temperature and what we are going to do now. So S is a function of temperature and volume. With this we'll get one TDS equation. Now next what we can do, you can take S is a function of pressure and temperature, this two. Then we'll get another TDS equation. Okay, then you can take entropy as a function of pressure and volume. Then you will get third TDS equation. Okay, so you will get three TDS equation like this. So let's derive this one. So first we are considering entropy as a function of temperature and volume. Entropy is a function of temperature and volume. Now what we can do is, as entropy is a function of temperature and volume. Okay, we can change of this one, the change of any, like if you remember in mathematics you might have this particular thing also. Z is an of x and y. Okay, if z is a function of x and y, then change of z can be written as partial derivative of this z with respect to x, that's dx. Okay, derivative of z with respect to x, then multiplied by dx. This mathematical relations only, so I am not going in much like this. I have you in fluid mechanics also, I think, means while deriving our acceleration equation. So there also we have seen this particular thing. So change of any variable can be written, if it is function of two different variable, then z is a function of x and y, then dz can be written as dou z by dou x multiplied by dx plus by dou y multiplied by d. Okay, so this is nothing but basically slope then multiplied by that dx. This from straight line also formula also you can derive this particular thing for a single variable. Like if y is a function of only, then to calculate dy, like dy will be what? Now it is a function of only one variable x, so instead of dou you can write dou y by dou x, dou y by dou x dx. So actually it is delta y is equals to dou y by, sorry, dy by dx multiplied by delta x. So this is 2 point formula for your straight line. So we can write like this. So this variable is function of means variable which of only one other variable. Here a variable z is function of two other variables. So we can write like this. Okay. This point is clear to everyone? This particular point? This will like this. Okay. Now, so this s can be written as we have considered, s is a function of tv. S is a function of tv. So dds equals to dou s by dou t multiplied at constant volume dt plus dou s by dou v at constant temperature dv. Like this we can write. Okay. Now we can multiply by temperature throughout this equation, because what we want is TDS equation. What we want is TDS equation. So we can multiply with the temperature throughout this equation. So after multiplying with the temperature, voice problem is there. Disturbance. Okay, just a minute.
You are now unmuted.
Is it clear now? Is it clear now? Okay. So now we have, so here we have a ds equation, change in entropy equation. Okay, and then we can multiply it throughout this equation with temperature. So we'll get TDS equals to this and this. You don't have to remember this particular thing. You don't have means this one, you can write like this. Okay, and then multiply with temperature. Now if you see this particular thing, T dou S by dou T and at constant volume is nothing but CV, the heat capacity. Okay, heat capacity equation. So because if you remember the means hello, hello, that disturbance is still there. Okay, so this particular thing, this particular thing is nothing but your CV, the heat capacity at constant volume. Okay. Now this we can derive also. I will just this I will tell you. Just wait. First we will see this right hand side. Okay, right hand side. Now we have dou S by dou V at constant temperature. Dou S by dou V at constant temperature. So from 4 Maxwell equation, we'll see that dou S by dou V at constant temperature can be written as dou P by dou T at constant volume. Okay, dou P by dou T at constant volume, which is Maxwell's third equation. Means 4 equations we have seen. No, so out of that, this is one equation. So we can replace this particular thing. Okay, why we replace? Because we want like we assume no this entropy S is a function of temperature and volume. So we want this thing, this pressure, temperature and volume relation. Okay, pressure, temperature, volume relation in your TDS equation. We want that particular thing. That's why we have replaced this particular uh, this particular uh, this particular term with P, T and V relation. Okay, so that we can have this TDS in terms of P, T and V. Why? Because we'll see later, because this is useful. Okay, now TDS we get in terms of CV dt plus T dou P by dou T at constant volume dV. Okay, now anyone can tell me how we can write this particular thing? Can anyone tell me? Okay, then so we have Q equals to yes, correct. So we have, see, heat transfer at constant volume. Heat transfer at constant volume is delta U, change in internal energy. If you remember, heat transfer at constant volume is change in internal energy. Heat transfer at constant pressure is change in enthalpy. Okay, this we have already derived. Okay, in first chapter only. So heat transfer at constant volume is delta U. Now heat transfer, all these things are happening reversibly. So heat transfer can be written as TDS. Heat transfer can be written as TDS. Okay, and delta U can be written as CV dt. CV dt. Now this particular thing is happening at constant volume. So if this is happening at constant volume, okay, then we can rearrange this one. We can rearrange this one. So what we'll get is, for constant volume we can write as entropy is function of temperature and volume. Here entropy is a function of temperature and volume. Here we assume that volume is constant, so we can write that dou S by dou T. We can rearrange this one. We'll get dou S by dou T at constant volume is equals to CV by T. That T we can write here itself. T we can write here itself. So T dou S by dou T at constant volume can be written as CV, which is specific heat capacity, not a specific heat. This is M small Cp. Okay, M multiplied by small Cp will be capital C, not Cp, Cv. M multiplied by small Cv, which is specific heat at constant volume. Now multiplication of this one is capital Cv, heat capacity. That only we have written here. Is this clear, this particular thing? Because this is important. You should understand this particular thing. Now similarly we can write for this also. Okay, next slide. Anyway, we have to see that particular equation. So next slide we'll see. But this TDS equation is this, the first TDS equation, which is TDS is equals to CV dt. TdS equals to CV dt plus T dou P by dou T at constant volume multiplied by dV. Now from here, one thing you can understand that we already know QV is equals to, at constant volume it is CV delta T, okay, or in differential TdS is equals to CV dt. When we'll get this particular thing? See, TdS equals to CV dt. You'll get this one. TdS equals to CV dt. When this term is 0. And this term will be 0 when volume is constant. Okay. How to understand this particular equation? See, heat transfer is equals to CV dt. At TdS equals to CV dt plus this particular term. Okay. Now, if you calculate this particular term for your ideal gas, which is PV equals to MRT, if you calculate this particular term for ideal gas, okay, for ideal gas, okay, then what you will get is 0. Okay, this particular term you will get 0. So for ideal gas, TdS equals to CVDT you will get. Okay, so internal energy is a function of temperature only. Internal energy is a function of temperature only for ideal gas. Okay, because in that case this particular term will become 0. Okay, now for other gases, for real gas, for any real gas, if volume is constant, then only TdS will be CVDT. If volume is constant, then dV will become 0. If dV will become 0, then TdS equals to CVDT. So internal energy is a function of temperature only if it is ideal gas, and internal energy is a function of temperature only for real gas if process is isochoric, or if process is at constant volume. Okay, if process is constant volume, then this term will become 0 because dV will become 0, and then only you can write TdS equals to CVDT. Otherwise, for other processes, for gas, entropy is not only function of temperature. Okay, but for real gas it is only function of temperature. Okay, it doesn't matter which process it is. No, we are not trying to derive relation for real gas, but this TdS equation is helpful in understanding this particular concept. Now, same thing we can do for this thing. If same thing we can do for S is a function of temperature and pressure. If S is a function of temperature and pressure, now we are taking pressure, so definitely Cp will come. Okay, so we can write like this, then multiplied by temperature we'll get this one. Now T dou S by dou T at constant pressure we can write as Cp. Same thing, I will not explain this again now. So similar as Cv, how you get Cv, you will get Cp here. Okay, so we'll get Cp. So with this we can write as Cp. And this one, if you remember, we want relation between pressure, temperature and volume. Okay, pressure, temperature and volume, so that for ideal gas and others we can derive here. Okay, so this one you can replace with dou V by dou T at constant pressure. Now again, if you see P and S is there, then definitely one negative sign will come. Okay, from our Maxwell relation. So you replace it here, we'll get this particular equation. This is our second TdS equation. Similarly, you can derive the other third TdS equation also. If you start from, if you take entropy as a function of pressure and volume. Okay, you can derive like that. Now here again that same conclusion we can draw. TdS will become CpDT. Now TdS, this is at constant pressure. So when we can write Q is equals to CpDT, when heat transfer is at constant pressure and it is change in enthalpy, then we can write Cp delta T. Cp delta T is change in enthalpy. So heat transfer we can write delta T, and which is equals to Cp delta T when it is for constant pressure. Now for ideal gas, this holds good at constant pressure only, and ideal gas heat transfer will be nothing but delta H, and it is function of temperature only. It is function of temperature only. So for ideal gas, enthalpy is a function of temperature only, and if you can calculate that this particular term for ideal gas, and you will get 0. Okay, but for other processes, if sorry for real gas, for not ideal gas, for real gas, if the pressure is constant, then only this term will become 0, and enthalpy is a function of temperature only. Otherwise for real gas, it is not only function of temperature. Okay, with this we can prove that enthalpy depending on other properties, okay, for ideal gas and real gas. So this thing is clear, this 2 TDS equation is clear to you. Now what we can do is just equate this two TDS equation. This is I'm just giving you a derivation so that you'll have a feel like two things we have already concluded with that two TDS equation, like that function of temperature only and all those things. Enthalpy or entropy is a enthalpy or internal function of temperature only for ideal gas. Otherwise for real gas, what is the condition we have already seen. Now one more conclusion we can draw from here. So what we can do here is, let's do the this two let's do one manipulation here. What we can do is just equate this two equation, okay, TDS equation. We are equating what two equation we have derived, no, just equate. Now after equating, what we are getting here is Cp dt and Cv dt. So this we can take here as Cp minus Cv then dt. Okay. Now the remaining two term we can write like this. Now dt can be written, dt you can leave at left hand side and divide this equation with Cp minus Cv. Now we divided this equation with Cp minus Cv. Now what you can see here is dt dv dp. Okay, dt dv and dp. So what you can take is, let's say temperature is a function of volume and pressure. You consider temperature is a function of volume and pressure. Okay, so again we can write this equation. dt is dou t by dou v at constant pressure dv plus dou t by dou p at constant volume dp. We can write like this. Now we compare. Now if we compare this two things, see, you don't have to remember all these things. I'm just telling you how to derive or derive some conclusions from this TDS equations. Okay, useful conclusions. So you just try to understand this derivation. So this one and this one we are equating. So left hand side is equal, so the coefficient of dv will also equal, coefficient of dp also will be equal. So if we equate, what we'll get is this thing. If we equate, what we get here is this thing. Up to here, is it clear? Then I will go to next slide. Anyone, any doubt? Just let me know here itself. See, what is important, what in this particular chapter is that first is that Maxwell equation, how to write that Maxwell equation, that I have already told you. Then second is the TDS equation, two TDS equation, what I have told you. This two TDS equation you can, if you want it, anyway it is easy to remember because one is CPDT, other is CVDT, and the other PVT relation. Okay, but but if you want you can remember, otherwise you will have to derive in that in examination. Okay, so now what we are doing is we are going to see the heat capacity, difference in heat capacity, that we are going to see. So we have derived till here. Okay, after equating these two equations, we have derived till here. Now let's see what individual terms indicate. If you solve both the equations if you solve, what it is, Cp minus Cv equals to T dou P by dou T at constant volume and dou V by dou T at constant pressure. Okay. Now we have this also a mathematical relation. Okay. This is also a mathematical relation. Like if you write, like you have x, y, z, and if you write in a cyclic order x, y, y, z, z, x, like that, if you write a partial derivative of one with another, if you write, you will get a minus 1. Okay, this is also a this mathematical relation only, like dou x by dou y, it should be in cyclic order, that is the constant. So dou x by dou y, okay, dou x by dou y at constant z, then dou y by dou z at constant x, then dou z by dou x at constant y. If you multiply all this thing, you will get minus 1. Okay, so we are using this relation here. So why we did this one? Because we have dou p by dou y at constant volume here, dou v by dou t at constant pressure we have. So dou v by dou t at constant pressure we have this one. So this two we have actually. Okay, so just we want to replace this one with this particular thing, minus 1 and that. So finally we derived a equation Cp minus Cv equals to minus T dou v by dou t square at constant temperature multiplied by dou p by dou v at constant temperature. Now what we can derive this from this particular equation? Since this is a square, this is a square, okay, this is a square, so this particular factor will always be positive. This will always be positive. And dp by dv at constant temperature for any substance, it is negative. Okay, change in pressure by means change in pressure by with respect to volume. Okay, at constant temperature. Now this we have seen in fluid mechanics also. When you apply, like when you apply uniform pressure from all direction, its volume will change. So change in pressure with respect to volume. So if you are increasing, obviously it will be negative, because if you are increasing the pressure, its volume will change and it will decrease actually. Okay, so you are changing the pressure means increasing the pressure. If you are increasing the pressure means dp will be positive and volume will reduce, so dv will be negative. So overall this ratio dp by dv will always be negative. Agree, this particular factor will always be negative. So this is always a positive, this is always a negative. Now this, if this is this particular thing is always negative, and this minus sign will make this thing as positive, which indicates that Cp minus Cv is always positive. See, if you remember this fluid mechanics, or you in strength of material also you might have studied. If we compress, let's say if we are compressing here any substance, if you are compressing, for compressing what you will do, you will increase the pressure. Change in pressure will be positive. You are increasing, you are applying uniform pressure from all the direction. Okay, you are applying. Now you are further increasing the pressure. First you applied P, now you are further increasing the pressure. Okay, so that it will compress. What it will do, it will compress here. So dp, change in pressure, and then as this is compressing, its volume will reduce. Now the change in volume is negative. Okay, so the change in volume, here is negative. So the ratio delta p by delta v will come as negative only. Okay, so this particular factor will always be negative. Then the multiplication of this and this will give you positive, which indicates that Cp minus Cv is always positive. Or what we can do is, we can say is Cp is greater than Cv. So we know this thing with the physical understanding. We can explain that why Cp is greater than Cv. But mathematically also, with the help of Maxwell equation and TdS equation, you can derive this particular relation, or you can explain mathematically also that Cp is greater than Cv. Clear? Now, as T tends to 0, as temperature tends to 0, this temperature, as this temperature tends to 0 Kelvin, Cp tends to Cv, or at absolute 0, Cp will become Cv. Okay, both will become equal. Okay, so at absolute 0, both pressure, specific heat at constant pressure and specific heat at constant volume is exactly equal. Otherwise, there will be a difference, small difference. Now, one more thing we can derive from here is that, see, dou V by dou T at constant pressure, dou change in volume at with respect to temperature at constant pressure is 0. Like for water, the density is maximum for this particular thing. So in this particular thing case also, what we can see is that Cp is equals to Cv. So this is what? This is solid. This is solid. If either solid, or you can say a water which is having maximum density, or any water, if you liquid if you take, it is what we consider is that it is incompressible. Generally what we consider is that it is incompressible. Okay, so that thing is incompressible. So that incompressible things is having a relation for a specific heat as its value will not differ with process. Like Cp and Cv will be equal for incompressible things. It is different only for compressible, which is air. Okay, air, water vapor. So for air, it will be, the specific heat will be different. It depends on process like Cp and Cv. But for incompressible things like solid or liquid, there we have this Cp and Cv as equal. Okay, so we can derive that also with this, with that particular relation also, that this particular thing is equals to 0, then Cp is equals to Cv. Okay, then for ideal gas, we can derive this relation. We use this thing, Cp minus Cv equals to R. We generally use this particular thing. Okay, now this particular thing we can derive with the help of our TdS equation also. So this dou V by dou T at constant pressure, we can calculate for ideal gas. This is ideal gas equation, PV equals to MRT. So you calculate dou V by dou T. Okay, you calculate, you just differentiate this one with respect, as the pressure is constant, PV equals to MRT. So what we want to calculate is dou V by dou T. So it will become a constant pressure P dou V, M is constant, R is constant, dou T. So dou V by dou T will become MR by P, MR by P at constant pressure, obviously. So dou V by dou T at constant pressure, we assume that pressure is constant, for that it will be MR by P. So we can write MR by P, and then again MR by P will become V by T. So we can write V by T also, and then you can replace here. Okay, so if you, and then you can calculate dou P by dou T, dou P by dou V at constant temperature, and calculate this one. If you replace this thing, what you will get is Cp minus Cv equals to Mr. So this is all one useful relation what you can derive from this TdS or TdS equation or Maxwell equation, with the help of Maxwell equation. Also, okay, so this TdS equation or Maxwell equation helps us in mathematically derive this useful equations. Okay, so you don't have to remember like like all those things what we derived, but you should understand how to conclude different things with this TdS equation. Okay, now we can calculate this thing, the volume expensivity, expensivity beta. Now the volume expensivity beta, we know this, this also we have seen in fluid mechanics. If you remember, we have derived beta volume expansivity 1 by v dou v by dou t at constant pressure. We have change in volume with respect to pressure at constant temperature. Okay, we have this also. We have dou v by dou t at constant pressure also. Okay, so this was your bulk modulus, if you remember, in your dou v by dou t. So if you apply a uniform pressure from all directions at constant temperature, obviously its volume will change. Okay, and that we defined bulk modulus in your strength of material, you might have studied. Okay, or compressibility, ulta of that is compressibility. Okay, compressibility, so that was defined at constant temperature. Now we can have one more relation, change in volume at constant pressure with respect to time, change in volume with respect to time at constant pressure. That means if you have a body and if you increase the temperature, if you supply heat to this body, obviously its temperature will increase, and if its temperature is increasing, it will expand, and if it is expanding, its volume will increase. Okay, its volume will increase. So if its volume is increasing, so what is happening here is that volume is increasing with respect to temperature. We are changing temperature, volume is increasing, but we are keeping pressure constant. And this same thing was seen here for water. So for water at 4 degrees centigrade, which is having maximum density at that particular thing, which is 1000, what we use is 1000. The value of water density 1000 we use is here only at 4 degrees centigrade. Okay, its value is at 4 degree only. So this also we have seen in properties of pure substance. So what this thing tells is that the volume will not change if you are changing temperature. Okay, at this particular thing, you be keeping pressure constant. So that's why this particular thing is 0, and if this is 0, Cp will become Cv. So we can derive, we can have one relation, volume expansivity equals to 1 by v dou v by dou t at constant pressure. Now this particular thing is 0 for water, but it cannot be 0 for your air. So what it could be for air, that you can calculate. So you can calculate dou v by dou t at constant pressure for this ideal gas. You calculate this one and put it here, you will get the beta value. Okay, so what you will get, let's see. See this particular thing, we can write as beta. Now we can okay, this isothermal compressibility, what I was telling you in the last slide, change in volume with respect to pressure at constant temperature, which is isothermal compressibility. And if you do ulta of this one, this will give you bulk modulus. Okay, so this thing we have already seen in fluid mechanics also, and you might have studied in your strength of material book, strength of material subject also. Okay, so this is isothermal compressibility, or ulta of this one is your bulk modulus. So we know this property, we know this thing as beta. Okay, then we can replace this as beta, we can replace this as kt. So you can have one more relation as Cp minus Cv equals to Tv beta square by kt. Okay, you can have one more relation. You can so you know Cp minus Cv equals to R, or you can calculate Cp minus Cv if you know beta and kt value. So Tv beta square by kt. Okay, so this relation you can remember, this particular relation. Not derivations is not required. Clear? This part is clear? Only one person is replying. What about others? See, this is very easy chapter. This chapter is basically explaining you different concept or physical quantities, explaining you mathematically how mathematically this thing is happening. Okay. So this particular thing is over. Now we'll see one more important concept, and this they have asked. Okay, this they ask generally in examination, and this is important. This particular thing is important. Okay, so let's see, and it is interesting also. So if you expand, like if expansion is happening, or if you are doing if you are undergoing a throttling process. Okay, yes, throttle valve only, yes. So we are going to see Joule Kelvin effect. So if you are expanding, okay, you might have seen that if you expand, then the temperature may drop, the temperature is dropping. Okay, but is it always the case? Is it like always when you expand you'll the temperature will drop? No, we can see when it will drop and when it will actually increase. If you even if you are expanding, its temperature will increase. Okay, so that particular thing only we'll see with this Joule Kelvin effect. So in this particular chapter, like you might be getting a feeling like whatever you have studied till now in thermodynamics, you are getting a mathematical proof of everything. Okay, a mathematical proof of everything you are getting. Okay, so now let's see this, like this throttle expansion or throttling process we have already seen in our first low process open system. There we have seen that the enthalpy remains constant. If you throttle, if throttling process is undergoing, then the enthalpy remains constant, or we call it as isenthalpic process. So we'll see that particular thing only. So let's say we have a pipeline here, and some fluid is flowing here, and this is its initial temperature, left hand side is initial temperature, and this is your valve, throttling valve. Okay, and right hand side is your final value you will get, after throttling. So after throttling means you can open, let's say you have this valve, you can open with a very small amount, you can increase the flow. Okay, so like that you can change your conditions. Okay, so with that you can see what conditions you are getting. So let's say this is our initial condition, inlet or initial condition. Okay, and with a different throttle opening, we'll get different exit, we'll get different exit conditions. Okay, so this when we'll get different exit condition, one thing is sure, that all exit condition will have same enthalpy, is it not? One thing is sure, one thing is sure, that although the exit conditions are different, it is as it is going this isenthalpic process, or this thing process, the enthalpy at the exit will always be same, because the initial temperature is same. Sorry, initial condition is same, initial condition is same. Only thing you are changing is this throttling valve opening and closing. So as this is throttling process, the exit enthalpy will always be same, but its temperature and pressure may change. Okay, its pressure, temperature and pressure may change. So this is nothing but a isenthalpic process. Okay, or all exit will have same enthalpy. So we can draw this thing like we have initial condition, this one has initial condition. Now you open this throttle valve, you will get, let's say, tf1, first tf1. Now you open more, you will get tf2, you will get tf3. So different condition for same inlet you are getting here. Okay, now when you will plot this different temperatures, different tf1, tf2, tf3, you will or pf1, pf2, pf3, when you will plot all this thing in TP plot, in TP plot, when you will plot, what you get, you see, we have TP plot. This is temperature, this is pressure, TP plot, and this is your initial state before throttling. Now a small amount of throttling, small expansion, you reached here, further expansion, you reached here. So see, the temperature is increasing, the temperature is increasing, further expansion here, further expansion here. Now if you further expand this one, what you can see is that there is a this thing we got after experiments, and then we this Joule has plotted this particular thing. So with this, what we got, he got is that after that the temperature is decreasing, started decreasing, and further expansion, if you see, it is further decreasing. The temperature is further decreasing. So that means that it depends how much you are expanding. If you are expanding by very small amount, and if your initial condition is here, it may, the temperature may increase instead of decreasing, it may increase. But let's say your initial condition, this initial condition, let's say it is somewhere here, and if you expand with by very small amount also, if you expand by very small amount also, you are very sure that the temperature will decrease, is it not? You are very sure that temperature will decrease, pakka decrease. That means it depends upon your initial condition also. If initial condition is here, then you will have to expand so much. But if initial condition is somewhere here, then you are very sure a small expansion also will give you a reduction in temperature. Okay, now this was initial condition, and after different throttling, you got different points here. You get different points, and this is what a isenthalpic line. This is your isenthalpic curve. Now this curve is drawn for one inlet condition. This inlet condition is fixed, and different outputs we got. Now if we change the inlet condition itself, if we change the inlet condition itself, then what will happen? Will the curve remain same? Will the curve remain same? The behavior of the curve will remain same, but this particular curve will not represent that inlet condition. So what you will get? You will get different, one more curve. Here it will be your different inlet condition. Okay, this is your new inlet condition. Now you'll get different outlet condition for this particular inlet, and you'll get one more isenthalpic curve. Similarly, you will get one more isenthalpic curve for different condition. So for different inlet condition, you will get different isenthalpic curve. Okay, and we call this thing as family of isenthalps. Okay, we call this thing as family of isenthalp. Is it clear up to this particular thing? Different enthalpies? No, enthalpies is same, na? Here enthalpies is same for same inlet condition. For same, if you are changing the inlet condition, then your enthalpy means this enthalpy and this enthalpy will remain same. This enthalpy, not this inlet and this one. This enthalpy will change definitely. If you have changed inlet condition itself, if you have changed your inlet condition, then enthalpy here, let's say it is H1, then this also will be H1, this also will, let's say this is, let's say this one is H2, then this will become H2, this also H2, this also H2. This two enthalpy will be different, but for same curve, throughout this curve, enthalpy will remain same. Because throttling is happening here, no? Throttling is happening here for same inlet and different exit. Now you see, now a very important thing. Okay, and this they have asked, I think 2-3 times they have asked this particular thing, and very easy. This is very easy. This particular equation. So we have this as your curve, different inlet. Let's say this is inlet, a different curve. This is your different curve. This is your different curve. This is your different curve. Now we can see that it is having a peak It is having a peak and then it is reducing. It started from here, reached a maximum value, then temperature dropped. For this curve also, it reached peak, then drop. This reached peak value, drop. Reached peak value, drop. Then we'll have one curve which will intersect somewhere here. Which will intersect somewhere here. There is no further reduction in temperature, because means it will, you will not, means you are not expanding as a negative pressure. So this will be your maximum inversion temperature. Okay, when this particular curve will cut at a cut the temperature axis, then this particular thing is telling you the maximum inversion temperature. Okay, and when you join this peak points, when you join these peak points, sorry, the highest points or maximum temperature points, then you will get one more curve which we call as inversion curve. This is very important. Okay, this only when you join all the highest temperature points, then you will get a curve which is a inversion curve. Numerical also they will not numerical. What you will have to do is you will have to find this particular thing. Let me explain this thing. Then they have asked what will be the mu value, Joule Kelvin coefficient, for any condition, for any different any condition they can give, pressure temperature value they can give, and they will ask you to calculate this one, mu j. At least this inversion curve is clear to everyone. Inversion curve. Inversion curve. Okay. So many things we can, so many conclusions we can draw from here. So many conclusions we can draw from here. Okay. Now first thing is when you want to cool, okay, first let me tell you this. The slope of this curve, we get this particular, now the numerical value of the slope of the Eisenthal on TP diagram at any state is called the Joule Kelvin coefficient, generally represented by mu j. So what it is telling, that any state point for any Eisenthal, this is Eisenthal. Now you take any state point, this is your state point. Now the slope here, slope is what? Dou t by dou p, and this is constant enthalpy line. Okay, the slope, any point you take here, so this is Eisenthal line, and you take this point, the slope here is dou t by dou p at constant enthalpy. Now this slope only known as Joule Kelvin coefficient. Now if this thing is positive, okay, now slope wise if you see, considering this as a peak point and your maximum temperature point, if you go leftward, the slope is always positive. Okay, and if you go rightward, the slope is always negative. So if now this, what this inversion curve does, it is dividing the region into cooling region and heating region. Okay, cooling region means, if I take this particular point, now if initial somewhere here, and if I am expanding, then I am sure that the temperature will increase. Here the temperature will increase, and if my initial condition is here, and if I am expanding means reducing the pressure, temperature will reduce, pakka reduce. That means this point only, left to this point cooling, right to this point it is heating region. So this particular inversion curve, it is, what it is doing is that it is dividing this family of lines into cooling region and heating region. So this is your cooling region, and this particular thing is your heating region. Okay, cooling region and heating region. Now if they ask you calculate mu value and tell whether it is in cooling region or heating region, then you calculate the slope. You calculate the slope. If it is coming negative, then it is a heating region, and if it is coming positive, it is a cooling region. Okay, and if it is 0, if the mu value is 0, then you are lying at inversion curve itself. This is your inversion curve. Inversion curve passes through this point, maximum point only, and that point is a point where slope is 0. Dou T by dou P at constant enthalpy is 0. Okay. Clear this thing? Now this, if you see, this is T, this is P, this is TP curve, na? This is your TP curve. Now in properties of pure substance, if you remember, properties of pure substance, we have our sublimation curve, then our vaporization, and this uh, one was sublimation from solid to vapor, then there was vaporization, then there is a fusion curve. So three curves are there, and in vaporization curve only we had this critical point. Remember, we have this critical point in vaporization curve. So that particular thing is here. So if you want to cool anything, like you have air, you have some air is somewhere here. If you are cooling it, its phase will not change. Let's say you are expanding. If you are somewhere here, its phase will not change. What you will have to do, its initial condition should be such that if you are cooling it, the exit condition should lie somewhere here, so that it will become liquid. So if you want to convert any air into liquid, then it should lie below your critical point. Okay, if it is lying below this critical point, then that particular air or that particular vapor will convert into liquid. That also we can draw one conclusion. Okay. Now you can have a equation for this, for calculating this mu j also. So we have dH equals to TdS plus VdP. Now we have TdS equation as Cp dt minus T, this thing. Okay. Now what you can do is replace this TdS. Replace this TdS equals to ds minus VdP. Okay. So what we'll get here, dH equals to Cp dt minus this particular term. Okay. Now for see the second term in our equation, this particular term for stands only for real gas. Again, if you see, H is Cp dt. Now this term will be there only for real gas. For ideal gas, this will become 0. Okay, for ideal gas, particular term will become 0. It should become 0. Now if you see, we have enthalpy as constant. What we want to calculate is mu j, which is nothing but T by dou P at constant enthalpy, na? So what you will have to do is put enthalpy constant. That means dH equals to 0. If you put dH equals to 0, what you will get, dou T by dou P, at constant enthalpy, and then the remaining term. So mu is equals to dou T by dou P at constant enthalpy, which is equals to this particular term. Okay, this particular term. So with the help of TdS equation, you can have mu also, you can derive mu also. Now Can anyone tell me what can be the mu value for ideal gas? It should be 0. It should be 0. Why? Just now I've told you, for ideal gas, this should be 0. For ideal gas, this particular thing should be 0. Now you compare this and this. If this has to be 0, this is the same thing, na? So this has to be 0. So for ideal gas, mu should be 0. That means if you are expanding an ideal gas, there won't be any cooling effect. Only in real gas, you will see that cooling effect. Clear? So for ideal gas, this will be 0. So there is no temperature when ideal gas is to undergo Joule Kelvin expansion or throttling process. That's why if it is ideal gas, see, for throttling, H1 is equals to H2. For throttling, H1 is equals to H2. But we were not sure whether the temperature will be equal, like T1 is equals to T2. We were not sure. For ideal gas, we are sure. Why? Because enthalpy is function of temperature only. Enthalpy is a function of temperature only for ideal gas. Okay, so if it is ideal gas, then if enthalpy is same, then temperature should also remain same, because H you can write Cp T1, and this also you can write Cp T2. Okay, Cp cancel out, so T1 equals to T2. So this you will get only for ideal gas, but if it is real gas, you won't get. Temperature will not remain same. Now this thing I will explain in next slide with graph. What was there in the previous slide is that if you want to cool your substance, then it should lie below maximum inversion temperature. See, we have seen this particular thing, we have this maximum inversion, this inversion curve, and it cuts somewhere here, and the temperature axis, it cuts somewhere here, this one only, this thing has not come here. So this particular point, this is maximum inversion temperature, maximum IT, maximum inversion temperature. Now if you want to cool anything, your initial temperature should lie below this one, then only you can cool any substance. Otherwise, let's say the initial condition is somewhere here, then the maximum inversion itself is here, then the isenthalp line will go something like this, increasing, keep on increasing only. So you won't be able to cool. If you are lying somewhere here and if you are expanding, its temperature will increase. But if you are lying below this one, maximum inversion temperature, then there is a possibility that you can cool your substance. Okay, this is one thing. So if you want to cool anything, your temperature, initial temperature should be below maximum inversion temperature. This is one thing. Now next is when you will get maximum drop. When you are expanding, but when you will get maximum temperature drop. See, when you are here, this is one isenthalp line, and when you are here, A, okay, and you expanded and you reached D, will you get maximum temperature drop? Will you get maximum temperature drop? Initially, you are at A, and you expanded and you reached D. Are you getting maximum temperature drop? So when you will get maximum temperature drop? Yes, it should be B to D. See, when you are here, then only you are getting maximum temperature drop. Okay. So if you want to cool anything, if you so maximum, if you want to cool any substance, maximum temperature drop will achieve when the initial condition is at inversion curve or at this state point B. Then the maximum drop will be TB minus TD. But it is not like you should be B only. If you are somewhere here C, then you are sure that after expansion your temperature will decrease. This thing is ensuring you, but it's not like the temperature drop is maximum you will get when you are somewhere here. Okay, maximum drop, but it's not like this thing is making you the putting you any constant that initial temperature should lie here only. No, it can be here. If it is here, then you will have to do very less effort to very less expansion to reach state point D. That's all. Okay, but here you are sure. He after here also you are sure that the temperature will drop. Now when you start from A and you are expanding, you are increasing temperature, increasing, and then when you reach state point D, after so much expansion, you have reached initial temperature only. You have reached initial temperature only, and then after this, when you draw further expand, then only you will see the temperature drop. Okay, so this particular point is also clear to everyone. So okay, so this though we have already seen. Okay, beta, now beta you can calculate. Beta, this see, this is our mu j. This is our mu j equation what we have derived. In this, in this mu j, this particular term is nothing but your beta multiplied by this like dou v by dou t multiplied by p is there. Only thing, volume is also there, you can adjust, then you will get beta multiplied by volume. So you can replace this one with beta multiplied by volume and take volume constant. So what you will get? V by Cp beta t minus 1. So you can replace, you can remember this particular also, but this particular equation also, and you can remember beta separately. Then in the examination you put it here, you will get, well, mu j equation. So it depends upon you how to calculate which one to remember. Okay, now for ideal gas we know beta is 1 by temperature. Beta is 1 by temperature. You put 1 by temperature here, you will get 0 only. Okay, now the last topic is Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Okay, this also, the the concept for this one, or the physical understanding of this one is it will go to your this plot. Sublimation, vaporization, and fusion curve. So if you remember, I have told you that for water, this curve will be this particular curve will be negative, the slope will be negative, and this will be positive. And I've told you that while we were studying that particular topic, that I will explain in this thermodynamics thermodynamics relations chapter, that why we get this as negative. Mathematical proof. Okay, so it's mathematical proof why we are getting slope of this one. For this slope is negative, and for other substance this slope is positive. And we'll see at triple point also, we have triple point also now, where all this thing like solid, liquid and vapor, all three are at equilibrium. So for triple point also, at triple point also, which curve is having more slope, which curve is having more slope, and which one is less, that also we'll see. Okay, so basically we are going to see which one have which slope is more or less. And we are going to see here also we'll have one equation which they have asked in GATE examination. Okay, I will tell you, so just wait for that particular equation also. But basically here we want to see this curve relation, this curve slope relation, and with the how to calculate the latent heat values. If you know any state point, because in your vapor dome, for different state point, for different state point, you can have different change in enthalpy or different latent heat. So you can calculate the latent heat value if you know the pressure temperature. Okay, so that equation also we'll see. Now if you remember, when there is a phase change, whenever there is a phase change, like this is our constant pressure line. Now from here to here only there is a phase change. This is our which plot? If this is constant pressure line, then this indicates which plot? TS plot. So this is T and this is S. Here it is S. So this is TS plot. Now from here to here this change. Now in phase change, the temperature and pressure remains constant. Temperature and pressure remains constant, but entropy, see, entropy is increasing. Volume also increases. So entropy and volume increases. Temperature, pressure remains constant from here to here, but entropy remains, entropy will change and volume will change. Okay. Now we know at any state point how to write this enthalpy. Okay, sorry, this not enthalpy, this S value, entropy value, and volume, specific volume value. Like this is the X is what your this mass fraction, mass of vapor by total mass wala. Okay, so we can write like this. We can write we can calculate any entropy and value at volume at any state point. Now next is this latent heat. What is latent heat? Let's say here we have enthalpy as HF and here we have enthalpy as Hg. Then Hg minus HF was what? Minus Hg minus HF was what? Enthalpy. So this is enthalpy, na? This difference is enthalpy. Now, if the heat transfer is reversible in this particular phase change process, then we can write this and heat transfer. See what we are doing is we are transferring heat, which is nothing but latent heat. Now we can calculate this latent heat by temperature multiplied by entropy also. Heat is TDS, na? Heat is equals to T delta S for reversible process. So let's assume that we are transferring this heat reversibly. So if you are transferring this heat reversibly, then the latent heat we can calculate with the equation T delta S. Now temperature is constant throughout this process, throughout this process from here to here, the temperature is constant, the entropy is changing. So final entropy minus initial entropy. So latent heat we can calculate as T delta S. Is it clear up to here? Now next is we g Gibbs function, and for deriving this Maxwell equation, we had that four equations, no, four relations for means this internal energy, enthalpy, then Gibbs function, then F1 F function. So all those four functions we have seen in very first slide. So out of those four, this is one, the Gibbs one. dg is equals to minus s dt plus vdp, that particular thing. Now here we know, let's assume first that pressure is constant. We know pressure here we know that pressure is constant and temperature is also constant. So what we can do is we can have a relation, like let's assume g as a function of temperature and pressure, and then we can have dg equals to dou t by dou p at constant dg equals to dou g by dou t at constant pressure plus dou g by dou p at constant temperature, like that we can write. Okay, so from there we can derive this particular relation. Okay, from there we can derive this particular relation, or what this you can get from here itself. If you assume pressure constant, if pressure is constant, this term will be 0, and what you will get is dou g by dou t equals to minus s. You will get this one. Is it clear? This one at least, is it clear how to get this equation? From here you put pressure constant, dp will be 0, then you can write dou g by dou t at constant pressure equals to minus s. That only we are going to see. Just wait. Next slide it will come. Wait. So if you are assuming pressure constant, then you will get this one. And if you are assuming temperature constant, then what you will get? Dou g by dou p. Dou g by dou p equals to volume. Now you see, like we have seen, Gibbs rule tells us about the phase change. Gibbs rule tells us about the phase change also. And in phase change, there is a change of entropy and change of volume. So see how mathematics is following the physics. Like math also we are seeing that s and means physically we know entropy and volume will change, and mathematics also it is telling you that this change will tell you there will be a change in volume. One is giving you volume, one is giving you the entropy. Okay, the relation. Now let's see what this particular thing is telling. One we have derived this one, and another we have derived dou g. Another we have derived dou g by dou p at constant temperature, which is volume. This we have derived. Okay. So what we can say is that a phase change of first order. Okay, a phase change of first order is known as any phase change that satisfies following requirement. Which are those requirement? For a phase change, there should always be a change of entropy and volume. There should always be a change of entropy and volume, and the first order derivative of Gibbs function change discontinuously. Okay, so the first order derivative of this one should change discontinuously. Then only you can say that this particular then you can say that phase change process is going on. Okay, phase change process is going on. Now next is this we have this TDS equation. We have this TDS equation equals to Cv dt plus T dou P by dou T at constant volume dV. Okay. Now in this thing, for phase transition where we know this temperature and pressure is constant, and after that if we integrate the whole process, what we'll get? So if let's say in this TDS equation, if temperature is constant, then this will become 0. This will become 0, and what you will get is TDS equals to uh, T dou P by dou T V dV. Now, this particular thing is independent of volume because we are considering this as constant volume, na? Dou P by dou T at constant volume. So this is independent of volume. So what we are getting after putting temperature 0, what we are doing is just understand. We are putting dt equals to 0 and then we will get TDS equals to this particular term. So what we will get, we have to integrate. So what you get is TDS equals to your that wala term, previous term, dou P by dou T at constant volume then dV. This only you got. This was the relation. After putting dt equals to 0, TDS equals to this you get. Now when you integrate this one, see, temperature is constant. In this phase change process, temperature is constant. Temperature you take out. ds is change in entropy, so you can write sf minus si. T is again constant, T you take out. Then dou P by dou T is not function of volume because you are taking this as at constant volume. So you can write dou P by dou T as dP by dt because it is not function of temperature. So not a function of volume. So left out is dV, which is Vf minus Vi. So this is your equation after integration. And if you rearrange this thing, what you are getting is this thing. dP by dt is equals to Sf minus Si upon Vf minus Vi. So now you see phase change is happening, entropy is changing, volume is changing. So it is following that particular process, that particular physics it is following. Okay. Now if I multiply with temperature in numerator and denominator, what I will get? This particular thing T multiplied by Sf minus Si, I can write it as latent heat, and denominator it will be T multiplied by Vf minus Vi. So this particular equation only we known as Clausius-Clapeyron equation, which relates the latent heat. Now for fusion process, you can write latent heat of fusion. So latent heat multiplied by latent heat and the slope. See, we have pt pt plot. Now in that we draw this thing. So when we draw this thing, we for every process like fusion process, vaporization process, sublimation process, there will be a slope of this curve. So dp by dt will tell you the slope of this curve only. Now I will show this thing in detail in that with that plot also, pt plot. But you know this thing, pt plot will have this y type of curve. So every point it will have some slope. So this thing, this Clausius-Clapeyron equation is relating the slope at every point and latent heat. Okay. Now for fusion, it is latent heat of fusion. Now from here, what we can draw, what conclusion we can draw? You see, for water, it was having negative slope, and for other substance it was having positive slope. Okay, so this slope dp by dt, it is indicating slope only. So that means this factor, this particular term is coming negative for water and it is coming positive for water. Okay, now we know that when you are going like this is latent heat of fusion. So fusion is from your this one solid to liquid wala. So let's say v dash, this v dash indicates solid state and this v double dash indicates liquid state. Now slope of fusion curve is determined by this difference only. Now if you want to calculate the slope, if you want to know the slope of this one or this one, which is both, like both are fusion curve only, one for water, one for other substance. Now it depends upon this difference. If this difference is positive, slope will be positive. This is negative, slope will be negative. Now for any other substance, obviously when you go from this one solid to liquid, okay, when you go from the indicates solid state, no, like indicates the this v dash. This indicates solid state, and this indicates your liquid state. Now when you go from let's say liquid to solid, obviously liquid to solid, if you go, its volume reduces. For other substance, the volume reduces. If volume reduces, then this will become positive. V double dash minus V dash will become positive. Now if this become positive, then obviously dp by dt will be positive, so slope for other substance will be positive. Okay, now but for water which is having peculiarity that in some, like from 0 degree to 4 degree, it behaves ulta. So when you go from liquid 4 degree water to 0 degree ice, okay, it should contract, but it doesn't happen like that. It actually expands. And if it is expanding because of its crystalline it actually expands. So if it is expanding, that means this will become negative. And if this become negative, dp by dt will come negative. So for water, the fusion curve is slope of fusion curve is negative, but for other substance it is positive. Clear? So this particular Clausius-Clapeyron equation you can remember. Now you see, this is our fusion curve for other substance, and it is having a positive slope. And this is for water, which is having a negative slope. Next we derive same equation. We can derive same equation and we will get same equation for vaporization curve also and sublimation curve also. And this is our triple point. So next we'll discuss about this vaporization, then sublimation, then triple point. So 2 slides only. And here we have critical point. So next we'll see vaporization. So same equation, we can use that same equation, dp by dt equals to vaporization. Now in case of vaporization, you know, this is always V triple point is your vapor, and this is your this thing liquid. So when you go from liquid to vapor, or from vapor to liquid, then obviously its volume will always reduce. Vapor volume is always more. So this will be positive. If this is positive, the slope will always be positive. That's why we are seeing that that curve, it is always positive. Slope is always positive. Now if this thing, the temperature, if you see, if you want to calculate the latent heat of vaporization, let's say in question it is given the slope, means they have given the slope, and they want you to calculate latent heat of vaporization. They have given the slope, they have given the temperature, and they have given the change in volume. So you know the change in volume, you know the slope, you know the temperature, you calculate the latent heat of vaporization. Now here, if the state point, like if the state point here we have, and this one, if any state point, this is a critical point, this is a critical point, and if you consider any state point whose value, the state point is well below your critical temperature, then we can assume it as an ideal gas. If you remember, I have told you, I have explained when we can consider vapor as an ideal gas, when we are very well below the critical point. If you are near to critical point, then you cannot assume your vapor as a ideal gas. But if you are very far away, like you are very low pressure and far away from critical point, here you can assume it as a ideal gas. So if you assume your vapor as an ideal gas, then you can apply this equation, P multiplied by specific volume equals to RT. Then you can replace this one with RT, this one, okay, place like this. So finally get the latent heat of vaporization as RT square by P dP by dt. So if you know at any state point, if you know pressure, if you know temperature, and if you know the slope at that point, then you can calculate the latent heat of vaporization. Clear, no? Now, next question, next one more thing, like next question comes is that what could be the this slope? So actually, the slope, the vapor pressure curve, the vapor pressure curve actually follows this type of equation. Now you don't have to go in deep where from this equation is coming and all. You don't have to worry. Even you don't have to remember this one also. Now, if you differentiate this one, you can calculate dp by dt. So you have b, t and other thing. So you can calculate the 1 by p dp by dt value with the help of temperature only. So if you know the temperature, you can calculate the slope with this equation. But for this, you should know b, c, d, the constant values. If they give, then only you can calculate. But they do not ask these things. Okay, just for your knowledge, and this is last topic, and continuity should maintain. So I am telling you. So this is there, the dp dt. If you know this one, you can calculate your latent heat of vaporization. Now one more thing is there. Clapeyron equation can also be used to estimate approximately vapor pressure. Till now we have we know how to calculate the latent heat of vaporization if you know the pressure and temperature. Now if you know latent heat and you want to calculate the vapor pressure, okay, you know this latent heat, but you don't know this pressure. You know the temperature, but you don't know the pressure. So you want to calculate this vapor pressure, so that also you can calculate with this rule. This rule tells that the latent heat by the boiling temperature is equals to almost equals to 88 kilojoule per kg mole Kelvin. Okay, so you can particular thing in our previous that the equation what we have derived in last slide, and if you put there, like dp by dt equals to this, you can put 88, you can put, and if you integrate this, you can calculate. So if you know the temperature and if you know the boiling point of the temperature, boiling point at 1 bar, 1.013 bar, or which one, this is your 1 atmospheric pressure only, 1 atmospheric pressure. So if you know the boiling point of that particular substance, like if it is water, the boiling point at this point at this particular pressure is 100 degrees centigrade. So if you know the boiling point and if you know any state point, then for that particular temperature you can calculate corresponding vapor pressure also. Okay, so this is the equation which you can use to calculate your this thing. Now the last thing, last slide here, that for sublimation, we have seen vaporization, we have seen fusion, now the sublimation. Now for sublimation also we can use the same equation. Sublimation also we can use the same equation. Okay, now here we know that v triple dash will always be greater than v dash, we are sure. Then this is always positive. Now if you rearrange this one, and again if v triple dash means the v triple dash is vapor only, no? So if it is vapor and it is well below your critical point, then you can assume ideal gas. You assume ideal gas, then you replace it like this, then you will get this equation. Now you integrate it, you can calculate the latent heat of sublimation like this. Okay, so this is the equations which you can with the help of which you can calculate the latent heat, or if you know the latent heat, you can calculate the slope at any point. So you should remember this equation only, this equation. Now this is same for all the three different curves. This is same for all three different curves. Okay, so you can remember this particular equation only, which is your Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Now the last is triple point. Last is triple point. So at triple point, if you remember, triple point, at triple point means all these three curves meet, no? So at latent heat of sublimation is equals to latent of vapor plus fusion, because see this one, the sublimation is directly from solid to vapor. So how you are going, that means that much heat is required, no? You are going from solid to vapor, so you that much heat is required. That means sublimation is what? Combination of vaporization and fusion. So vaporization fusion combines to form this sublimation. So at triple point, latent heat of sublimation is equals to latent heat of vaporization plus latent heat of fusion. Okay. So again that this thing with this equation, this particular equation, you can calculate your relation for triple point also, dp by dt. This thing you can calculate. So what we can conclude that for dp by dt for vaporize, see this is for sublimation, dp by dt for sublimation, and previous one was dp by dt for vaporization. Now this L is what? L is what? Latent heat. I will write that dp, sorry, not dp, not dop, dp by dt vaporization. I will write for you here, dp by dt vaporization. Now this is equals to pressure at triple point, then latent heat of vaporization, latent heat of vaporization divided by RTP square, like this you will get. Okay. Now this is for sublimation and this is for vaporization. Now what is the difference? The difference is only for latent heat of sublimation. Okay, rejoin quickly. Or this is last slide. Okay, so we have, see, this is dp by dt for sublimation, this curve. Okay, see what we are trying to do, what we are trying to find here is that, see this sublimation curve and vaporization curve both meets at this triple point. Which curve will have more slope, which will have less slope, that only we want to see, whether the sublimation will have more slope or vaporization. Obviously we can see from itself that this will have lesser and this will have higher slope, obviously, but we can prove it mathematically also. So for sublimation, the slope dp by dt sublimation, we can write p L sublimation, heat of sublimation, by RT square. Similarly, dp by dt you can write for vaporization. You can write for vaporization, and this will be pressure triple point wala multiplied by L of vaporization. Then you can write it for write it L of vaporization divided by R, then temperature square. Now you know sublimation, heat of sublimation is equals to heat of vaporization plus heat of fusion. So obviously sublimation heat is more than vaporization. So if sublimation heat is more, then dp by dt of sublimation will be more. So obviously slope of sublimation will be more than vaporization. So that means at triple point, the slope of sublimation curve is more than vaporization curve. Clear? A capital letter, yes sir, big one. So with this we uh, complete our thermodynamics part. Okay, I'll take one more class, most probably on Saturday. On that day we'll solve numerical. Not full thermo re baba. We don't have that much time. We left from some gate problems I have shared, no? So whichever you have doubt, those things will take up. No, no, no. These topics, okay. Whatever I means I have shared, no questions. Questions I have already shared. Yes, yes. I have shared questions, no? So those questions only will discuss in next class. Heat transfer, maybe maybe next month. I don't know. I will have to ask. I even don't know whether I am going to teach heat transfer or some other faculty, and that I don't know. That sir only will tell. Maybe means it depends. If sir is giving transfer, then I will come back. Otherwise, goodbye from next class. We'll see. Means whatever sir says, that that only will do. Heat transfer. These three subjects only: thermo, FM, and heat transfer. My background is thermal only, na. So I take these three subjects: thermo, FM, and heat transfer. Weightage wise, तो FM will have more weightage. HT will have little less, like uh, 4 or 5 marks for HT, and FM it will be 7-8 marks. It is good. Thermal तो बाबा बड़ा बहुत अच्छा है. It is good. In IIT Kharagpur though it was really good. Faculties there are really very good, and like whatever they taught us, that was also very good. Really, like you will be still be studying the heat transfer, means heat transfer and fluid flow combined. So you'll solve basically the Navier-Stokes equation there. You'll know how to solve, how to discretize the Navier-Stokes equation, and then solve for different problems. So in that Navier-Stokes, like in Navier-Stokes equation, that is for flow, that is momentum equation. So that is for flow, and then this one, the energy equation. So combined that momentum and energy equation, Navier-Stokes equation and energy equation. So like my project itself was like we have cylindrical cavity, a cylindrical cavity here, and this top lid was actually rotating with some constant angular velocity, and bottom lid was stationary, and here we are supplying some heat we are transferring, and we have here some sink so that we can take away this heat, and we have some fluid inside. So I have to simulate this one. The means I had to simulate this one, and then calculate different properties like pressure, temperature, velocities, all these things inside this cavity. So means with this constant, yes, using CFD, but CFD technique, using CFD only technique only we have to do, but not the software, we'll have to discretize, like mathematically you will have to you will have to write code in, means I wrote code in MATLAB and then solved this one. So all those things you can do. If the problem is then when like problem and you will it will take so much time for writing code, then you can use software also. It depends upon your professor. This thing I used means I wrote code in MATLAB to solve this particular thing, and then I solved this one here at Earth gravity, Moon gravity, and microgravity, like that. Okay, then anyway, it is means those things is fine, but if it depends upon your professor also, your guide also. No, they will not teach MATLAB. You will only have to learn. MATLAB they won't teach. They will teach you how to discretize your equation, how to solve your equation, but not the coding part. Software they will teach. No, the CFD software is there. Gambit and Fluent. Fluent they will teach, and there is a energy solver software also. So two softwares are there. Those things means we usually use in industries. Like if you go to motor vehicle or something like that, means vehicle company, there they use these softwares. So these two they will teach. What what happened to lockdown? Okay, revision and all those things I will tell in next class then. Okay, it will open. It will take some time. It will open. 2 years of MTech now. You'll enjoy a lot there. Yes. Okay, then end the class now. Now. Anyway, Abhishek has written his goodbye message. He's getting bored with all these discussions. Okay, then. Good night. Thank you. GATE, Engineering Services, ISRO. These three exam only. Yes. ESE is tougher. ISRO's means like ISRO uh, written test. If your basics are very clear, then you can get through. Otherwise, written is little bit like you have less time and you'll have to solve more questions. So that is the constant in engineering services. Like in ISRO, you'll get only one paper to get qualify, but so you have only one chance. But engineering services, even if your first paper is not good, you can score in other papers also. So there is still some chances left. But questions like, if you compare the objective questions, ESE questions are easier, objective question. But and objective question of ISRO is tough than this one. But and without calculator, that too without calculator. But if you see the subjective part, we have subjective in engineering services, but we don't have a subjective in ISRO. But when you come to interview, but when you come to interview, your written marks will be included for final calculation in ESE. But for ISRO, your written marks will not matter. Only thing matters is your interview. So interview is tough. Okay. ESE interview is more kind of like managerial interview. Okay. Like it means like more kind of HR interview. So there they would not ask much this technical question, but ISRO is purely technical interview.